Greetings! Welcome to the Update 25 devlog for hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off, as always, with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful! So what have we got for you this week? Well, we have a long-needed update to something that I know that has been a pain in the butt for a whole bunch of you, which is our item spawner. And we've got a table full of new toys. So let's start with the item spawner. Pop over here. This is a it's similar to the prior in that we have this sort of plinth-like setup, but a significantly improved interface. It's just finished it last night. I've been using it a ton through testing today, and it's firmly in the category of why didn't I do this months ago? So, and just a huge thank you to a member of our team, Lucas, who did all the interface design and far too many icons for all the categories and subcategories in here. He is responsible for this sucker looking as clean and sweet as it is. So how does this work now? So the idea is that we've got the sort of home page, which has our top level categories, and then for each category, there's then a subcategory that things are broken down into. So in this case, shotguns, let's look at break action. Then we have all of our break action shotguns. And then when we click on one of these, actually, you know what, let me pull up a better example. Let's go say, assault rifles. Then when we click on a specific one, so say the Mark 18, we have the actual item zoomed up here. This will eventually be some filled in description text. I just did not get to fill all of it out. It took long enough redoing all of the internal database objects for all of these with the new category structure. So we can just go ahead and spawn that, and it will drop onto our plinth here. But then we've got a bunch of associated items that go with it. So if I want to grab a mag for it, or in this case, this elevated MRO, and it just drops down here into our smaller little plinths here. Boom, and we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and pop that in there. Let's go back. You'll notice that I've sort of broken down the atomization of the categories a good deal more than with the last one. This means that at the moment, with the number of items that are in the system, everything will show up on one page. Eventually, there might be multiple pages, and that has been built into it. But even with suppressors, we have exactly 10 of them. Rail adapters, we've got 7, etc. So this should be so much faster for you to be able to navigate and set up whatever's you want. Eventually, I'm going to build a favorites system into this so that you can tag groups of equipment as a sort of favorite and have a bunch of have essentially an extra category menu here to just pull up sort of pre-saved configurations of a bunch of objects for you. So, but that'll be coming sometime next month. So beyond that, let's go ahead and pop these down here. The other thing that got a whole bunch of attention this week is a melee weapons system that I've been thinking about this a lot, especially after doing the sort of jokey tactical knife. Tons of folk were basically like, so can I actually, stab stuff with it? And you totally couldn't, because I had not yet sort of made it function with my damage system. But they do now. And so there are a number of new, and these are all still work in progress systems. I would not say that they're perfect, but I'm working on it. So a number of things that have come along with this is that there's now, for the melee weapons, sort of impact noises, and they're actually tied into the physical material and ballistic system. So if I knock the metal parts of these together, we get a metal sound. The wood parts get a much lower sound. Let's see if we, etc. So it isn't perfect. There's still a few combinations where you hit something together and you're like, it sounds a little bit too much like metal. It's going to take a whole bunch of tuning, but the framework is there for me to be able to have those sort of collision events producing a good sound mix. In addition to that, the way that damage for these now works is that this is actually being fed through the same damage system as the ballistic objects. And it depends on the sort of collider, the sort of sub-collider within the compound of these that you hit things with. So in the case of the axe, you're going to actually do significantly more damage to anything that can receive damage by actually hitting it with the edge. In the case of the crowbar here, actually striking things with those sharp tips will do a lot more damage, etc. So to go with this, and don't worry, we'll get to the powered ones in a moment. We've got a new friend here. Some of you may have seen him on the subreddit or on Twitter, Slicer. And so Slicer is a sort of saw blade robot. He's pretty nasty, and we have an option to spawn several of him. So, well, actually, you know what? Seeing as it's become my new favorite, which is a little creepy, I'm going to grab the power drill here, and we're going to spawn ourselves a Slicer to fight. There he goes. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump back over here. Try to get my heart rate down a little bit. So the slicers, as you can see, have that sort of dual saw blade around them. Be warned, when those intersect your hitboxes, you're going to die pretty quick. Also, something to be aware of is that your hands, this sort of area here, now have a hitbox as well. And when that hitbox gets hit, you will drop whatever is in your hand. So be warned, even when fighting Clunk, if Clunk nicks your hand, you might drop your rifle. Whew. So, and then last, but certainly not least, I want to just show you folks the chainsaw, which is my personal favorite. This was a pain in the butt to implement. It actually has to be started up like a real chainsaw. We need to sort of grab this, and you can't just give it a that's not going to start it. You got to give it a really good pull like that. Trigger revs it up. Touchpad turns it back off. Let's turn it back on. Let's do another slicer here. Let's go dual power tool. Delightful. Wonderful. So yeah, so that is the beginnings of the sort of melee system that I've been working on. It sort of all started as an experiment just to see how well the sort of physical object system that I've written, that everything works for sort of big melee weapons. And I have to say, fighting Slicer with these is officially now my favorite thing to do. But also super fun to fight him. Just loading up, 2 full auto Glocks and going at it, or sort of hybridizing with a machine pistol or an SMG and a melee weapon to hold one at bay. It's just great. Whew. And then lastly, when it comes to robot changes, we have a new option, which is Clunk Mk. Now, Clunk Mk, similar to Clunk Mk2, except he has no strike plates at all. And so the only way to bring him down is to do actual damage. Individual components are damageable. Sensors are. His tracks can be blown off if you manage to hit them without hitting sort of the big, thick track armor that he's got on. And his main sort of top turret accrues damage over time. Pistol caliber rounds are likely not going to do much against those parts of him, but almost any sort of intermediate to large round is going to do some serious damage, and armor-piercing rounds just chew right through him. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself some AP incendiaries. So remember, the rounds that I'm using here, these are the gray tips. These are going to do as much damage to Clunk as anything will. So I'm probably going to chew through them pretty fast when I show you here. So if you want a more challenging experience, just don't use the AP rounds. They're borderline cheater rounds against him. So let's do this. Helps to do that first. That one there. Let's go over here. One's there. Oh shoot. Like a hot knife through butter. Run, run, run. Goes his trap. Two down, one to go. Oops. There we go. Oh shit. And there he goes. So yeah, as I said, with the AP rounds, it goes down real fast. If you just use the standard FMJ, takes a good amount, takes, one or two solid good hit mags into his torso to bring him down, so it's a good intermediate challenge. I love it. And if you want the really hard challenge, just go pistol caliber, and in that case, pretty much the only way to bring him down in this mode is to blow off every one of his sensors. Then he'll self-destruct. So yeah, have fun.
Yo! So now that I've chilled out a little bit, truth be told, the melee with Slicer sort of gets my heart going like nothing else. It's one of the reasons I've been enjoying it as much as I have. Let's go over the rest of stuff for this update. So, obviously, some of you are probably immediately going, hey, didn't you say there's gonna be a Deagle? Well, no Deagle quite yet. That got bumped to next week, primarily because I got part of the way through implementing it and found a bunch of problems with the model I had. So, I was able to fix them, but not finish the implementation. And it was one of those, I was working on that in parallel with the item spawner, and the item spawner was half done and broken, so I had to finish that, or you guys wouldn't have been able to spawn anything this week. So yeah, so next week, Deagle. So yeah, beyond that, some important stuff. So player health has been rebuilt. I didn't die in the video there. But you now have something more approaching health, and it is zone based. So parts of you are more vulnerable to fire than others. And when that reaches 0, it isn't just an instantaneous teleport warp. There's now actually like a disable your hands, and there's a fade out and a more graceful respawn. And I'm still going to improve that and just make it better. So at least now, if you sort of go down, you have a bit better idea of what brought you down right at the end there. Tweaked a bunch of impact effect smoke stuff just to make it more consistent across a wide number of lighting. All the impact smoke is vertex lit, which means it's oftentimes really hard to balance luminance relative to various scenes when it comes to brightness. So I think I found the best happy medium. So now, yeah, as you saw, we now have a Clunk Mark III button. a sort of final Clunk Mk button and a slicer button in the arena. To speak about Clunk momentarily, just so you folks know, he's still not what I would like in terms of both the behavior and the way the damage system is working with him in a major way. Now that I have this more detailed damage system for components, Clunk Mk doesn't fit it super well because he was sort of built primarily as a plate robot. And so he's going to eventually get completely replaced with a model and a setup and a dimension set that are really built for what my component-based damage model can really do. I want to put a bunch of ablative armor on him as well that sort of like blows off very, very sort of cinematically, just so that there's just, it's a more nuanced combat situation with him. So that allows you to use a wider suite of the firearms in the game in interesting ways. So yeah, let's see what else. Oh, I tweaked a few things related to it's called firearm up vectors. So basically the idea is when you're holding an object with two hands, one of the hands is controlling where the up is. And it was actually in working with the chainsaw two-handed that I realized there were some computational problems with the way I was figuring out where that up was. So in fixing it for the chainsaw, I made it more reliable for everything that was two-handed. So that's sweet. I slowed Clunk down, as you might have seen. His max speed is back down to 1.5 meters a second instead of 3. If he feels too slow now, let me know. It's one of those things that's really hard to tweak. Let's see. And then in terms of bug fixes, fixed a couple muzzle flash bugs. The backup iron sights no longer just fall through everything now. I had a bunch of layers set, a bunch of colliders set to the wrong layer, so that's been fixed. Some assorted lighting tweaks, shader tweaks. Let's see, the DT11's muzzle flash and smoke should actually be at the end of the gun instead of like 1/3 of the way down the barrel. I don't even know how that happened, but the day that I was updating all the muzzle effects, everything was just bleeding together from, you know, having to update that on every single firearm. So the 8-gauge shotgun once again is fixed. You should be able to pick that up. Couple little trigger reset fixes. There's still, you know, a number of you pointed out there are a number of firearms where the trigger doesn't animate back or there isn't proper trigger reset behavior. That's only been completed on the closed bolt receiver firearms. I need to get to it with the rest of them. It's a ton of futzy work, so that's just going to be slowly updated over time. So just, you know, I am aware of it. I just haven't gotten to it. So yeah, so that's pretty much the update. It's a little leaner than I wanted it to be, but that's in part because I'm working on something super special for next week. I'm breaking my every other thing because Halloween happened to sort of fall on an odd Friday. So I'm gonna have something really special for you on the 28th, and I'm gonna start teasing it, not now, but on Monday. So keep your eyes on the H3VR subreddit. Starting on Monday, I'm gonna post a little clip each day leading up to till Friday, just to get y'all hyped up. I'm super excited, and if I seem truly worn out with this month's videos, it's because I've been doing all these updates, and all this past month I've been also working on this. As back, you know, months ago working on this, I was like, oh, I've a game out, I get to do a Halloween update. I can't wait to do a Halloween update. And so I really hope you enjoy what's coming. It's going to be appropriately terrifying. So yeah, well, I will leave you for now. I hope you enjoy the update. Let me know how fighting a slicer goes for you. I really encourage you to try a real mixture of sort of projectile and melee weapons, as it's so dynamic. You're really using your body a ton with it. It's great to be able to press them up against things, and for me, that's the thing that it's one of those, like, this is what room scale hand tracked VR is about, is being able to like have this sort of object in your hand, and even though there's no force feedback haptic response, the beauty of a physics based object system is that because it isn't exactly welded to your hand, it can move around. You proprioceptively get some of that feedback back, even though it's only coming in sort of visually, and it just feels great to be sort of fighting against him. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think, and I'm gonna get right the hell back to work because I only have 7 days left to get this Halloween update together. So, but it's gonna be worth it. I can't wait to see what you folks think. Well, enjoy the update. It'll be posted by 7 p.m. PST as usual. Peace.